In today's Leeds news, Willy Gnonto injury update, Roma plan Llorente sale after purchase, and AC Milan's Sinisterra interest. Morning folks, Chair here on Wednesday the 7th of February with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all having a good week so far. A nice win for Leeds last night. I enjoyed the game actually. I know it was a tighter run contest towards the back end of normal time, but I thought it was a really good game of football to watch. Leeds can be still be a bit wasteful in front of goal. I think that's the age demographic that we have in decision making at times, but nice to see a really good starting debut for Matteo Joseph, and thought he was very involved in the game. Looked really good up front as well. Link-up play was excellent, strength was good, all the things you want to see as a natural replacement for Pat Bamford when needed as well. Thought he was excellent. Willy Gnonto continues his good form as well. Really good to see Connor Roberts travel with the squad and do the warm-up even though he wasn't included in the squad, maybe getting himself ready for his debut on Saturday. Also Ilya Gruev just continues to produce in midfield. I want the compilation video of all of his slide tackles by the end of the season. I love watching him. I think he's been brilliant. Another 90 plus pass accuracy rate last night in the conditions that they had. Also Joe Road on call out as well. Another man had a really good game last night and also had a passing percentage well in the 90s as well, which is not easy for a centre back to do that. So brilliant to see that. We'll start off with the news and we'll get into the Willy Gnonto situation. And last night Willy Gnonto did score for Leeds United to put them 1-0 up, get his second goal back to back this season. Gnonto did come off, and it appears now that he came off with an injury. Daniel Farke has given an update on this and basically said that Willy Gnonto had taken a hit to his foot. Farke basically went on to say in his post-match press conference that Willy Gnonto had taken a hit to his foot before he scored, but still managed to finish, but he has bruised his foot. And he said the club will monitor the situation, but they think he should be okay for the weekend if they need him on Saturday. So they are going to keep an eye on that. But nice to know that he's got through that one okay. And it's a bit of a knock, but hopefully he won't come back to haunt him. And hopefully the extra time last night won't come back to haunt Leeds either. I think we should be okay. But seeing Junior Firpo go down with cramp in extra time is what you don't want to see. I thought he was very good from an attacking perspective last night as well. Can't criticise Firpo right now. He's been very, very good going forward. Defensively, there's still moments, but going forward right now he's been very, very good, and that should be said. Moving on to one of the main stories today, and this is one I want to spend a bit of time on because this is a really interesting story that's come up, and there's a bit of antics going on with this, I feel, and I don't know how far down the track Leeds are with this, but Diego Llorente situation at AS Roma, he has been in excellent form for Roma this season and has been one of their standout players for them this season. He's been a very important player, has played pretty much every game that he's been available for and started and finished most games that he's been available for in their backline. Jose Mourinho used him quite a lot. He was at loan at Roma last year and there was an £18 million option to buy. Roma didn't exercise that option for a couple of reasons. One, they didn't have the money, and two, Leeds got relegated, which meant the second season loan could be possible due to loan clauses in his deal. He's become a really important player for them this season. There have been consistent talks about Leeds and Roma coming to a permanent deal on the player and him moving there. There was some rumours in beginning of January, about PSG looking to come in and buy the player. Leeds would cancel the loan, he would come back and then go to PSG. It's not clear whether Leeds have options to cancel loans on these players. That's not clear at all, but it now appears that some more information is coming out over this. There's a little bit of a twist that's popped up with this one, and it has come from La Repubblica, and what they have basically said is that Roma's current clause for the option to buy Llorente is as little as £4.25 million. And why is that important? Well, according to La Repubblica, they're saying that the twist in the tale is this, that Roma claim that once they have purchased Diego Llorente from Leeds, which they say that Leeds and Roma have agreed on that £4.25 million fee, that Roma will then plan to sell Llorente this summer because they believe Llorente is worth significantly more than the £4.25 million that they're willing to pay for the player, and they plan to use the profit from him to fund a summer rebuild of some players. It's gone on to say that PSG are still very interested in the player, and PSG were willing to pay more than £18 million. That was the initial option last season for Llorente this year if they could have got him. Roma want to make their current loanee of Dean Huijsen. They want to make that permanent, and they plan on using some of the funds that they raised from Diego Llorente to make that move permanent. It would be an incredibly naive situation if Leeds were to allow Llorente's option to be a £4.2 million move for Roma to then immediately sell the player for a significant profit that Leeds obviously wouldn't get. Roma have played a lot of games with Leeds over the last 2 years. That option to buy, the £18 million option to buy last season, became very apparent that they had no intention of taking that option up because they didn't have the finances to do so. They've got Rasmus Christensen there at the moment for free as well. There's been a bit of messing around with Roma. Leeds seem to be in a position where I don't know whether they're stuck with that they have to let these players go out or whether they can negotiate somebody else, but it appears that Roma are planning on pulling a pretty major fast one on Leeds United to bring Llorente in for as little as £4.2 million and to sell him then for closer to £18 million fee in order to fund other deals that they've currently got on their books. I would be shocked if Leeds fall down this route. What I will say right now before anybody reacts to this is coming from La Repubblica. It's coming from an independent, one independent publication and not from major sources just yet. It could pick up some momentum. We'll keep an eye on this and I'll keep you up to date on what's going on with this as and when I find information on it, but it seems very transparent what's going on here. I don't think the current ownership and recruitment team in Leeds are naive enough to get pulled into something like this, but we'll have to wait and see. But it's I'd like to know your thoughts on something like this in the comments. This is an interesting one as well. Not so much the Leeds selling Llorente, that's going to happen, and 4.2 million maybe that's all we can get for the player at this stage, but the fact that there's a possibility that Roma could make a profit on him immediately is an interesting one for me. So I'd like your thoughts on that one. See how you feel. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Luis Sinisterra. Second time this week that Sinisterra has popped up, and it's popped up for an interesting reason. We heard earlier on this week that Bournemouth wanted to make Sinisterra's loan move permanent before the end of the season. Now, some people have asked me in the comments, how can you make a player permanent outside of a transfer window? You can negotiate any manner of transfer deals outside of transfer windows. They just don't take effect until the window opens. You can agree a fee for a player. I think Leeds had already agreed to sign Brendan Aronson before the window opened, and he joined Leeds day one of the window because of that. So you can negotiate these. You can get these deals put in place with a start date put in place of when the deal will actually become active, pretty much legally binding once they're in place. According to Foot Mercato, they claim that AC Milan are now in the mix here as well, and they claim that AC Milan plan to sell Rafael Leao to PSG in the summer for upwards of in and around £120 million, which would be an awful lot. They also said they plan to reinvest that in a squad rebuild as well, and what they're looking at doing is bringing in some players that could be options for them, maybe off the bench, or could compete for starting positions, but not necessarily a direct replacement for Rafael Leao, but looking at other areas where players can add value. Bournemouth, as I said, are keen to sign Sinisterra before the end of the season, before the option to buy either expires if Leeds get promoted or what happens there. They want to get there before that happens and get his move confirmed to them on a permanent basis. Italian journalist Carlo Polighetti, what he claims is that AC Milan would like to sign Luis Sinisterra and are willing to pay in excess of £21 million for the Leeds winger. It's believed that they are looking at a fee of in and around £25 million, according to this journalist. And it would happen if Rafael Leao was to depart the club, and only if Rafael was to depart the club, in order to bring in the funds that they need to add more clout to their squad. They've also got Charles de Ketelaere that's out on loan as well, and there's potential of a sale there for him in the summer as well, which will bring in a significant amount of money for them as well, to what's going on at Milan right now. It's an interesting one. If you're Luis Sinisterra, the San Siro, or the 15,000 people you get at a Bournemouth game every week, it's an interesting decision. From a Leeds perspective, you could potentially bring in a hell of a lot more money from a sale to AC Milan than you could for Bournemouth, and from a player's perspective, playing for a club like AC Milan and European football guaranteed nearly every season, versus then maybe playing for somebody like Bournemouth, who are going to be in and around the lower mid part of the table or lower part of the table as well. So it's an interesting one. There seems to be a bit of clamour. It makes sense now why Bournemouth might be trying to make this deal permanent as early as they are, and you make moves on this. Again, if Leeds don't get promoted, the loan clauses that are in place will take effect again next season. So from a Bournemouth perspective, they could sit on their hands and see how the league pans out and then decide whether they're going to make their move or not. Clearly there's more interest. It was said in the initial story about the Bournemouth move that there was other interest in Sinisterra as well. So on that behalf, it now looks like AC Milan are dropping in, and that's a big club to be competing with if you're Bournemouth to try and hang on to a player or to make a deal permanent into next season. Folks, that's going to be it for me today. Not a huge amount on the ground. Thanks as always for staying tuned and watching the channel. I really appreciate everyone that's stuck with the channel. There are other channels now doing news that I've seen popping up in the last couple of days, and I'm very grateful for everyone that's stuck with me and watches my channel. So thank you very much for that, and I will be back tomorrow morning with more Leeds news. Talk to you then. Have a great day. See ya. Bye.